Hey y'all, this is Marley K. Hope y'all are well. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about false prophets, just a little bit. But I want to talk about it was heavy on my heart this morning when I got up because I saw this story. I don't know, maybe a week or two ago about a megachurch pastor, a black one, African American black one, who partnered with this bank to do this $1 billion community investment thingy. And it bothered me so because this bank got its beginnings selling insurance for slaves on Wall Street. So that's how Wall Street was created. And I was disappointed because this man of Yah, allegedly, so I'm going to say a man of God because he is in church. This man who's supposed to have a relationship with the Most High did not take this opportunity to seek recompense for people. You know, he's supposed to be keeping watch and aware of what's happening like we are, and understanding that we are like the poorest group collectively in this country and the historical discrimination and oppression we have endured. Instead of him using his platform to seek reparations and justice for injustices committed against us, he took his bag and is going to do the little 501c3 raccoon shuffle. And everybody is, all smiles about it. I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful deal. I see it differently because I understand COINTELPRO and I understand the history of this nation using our leaders in the church in particular to keep the social order or to subvert whatever it is that we're trying to do, disrupt us, mislead us, guide us into some other area that we're not trying to go into, or wherever the dominant society wants us to go. They have historically used churches to redirect our focus. And the congregants of these churches have been none the wiser. And so I was just a little grieved because after all this time, with all this information out there, we live in an age of knowledge and people just won't take the knowledge. You can't cram it down their throats. You can't give it to them in their hand. Like, you just can't do nothing. And so, I want to talk about, false prophets this morning and how we are, in a time where, especially for African American Black people, we are heavily inundated with misleaders in all areas. Well, I don't care if it's law enforcement, politics, religion, health. Like, everywhere you turn, we got a raccoon or something black working against us. Even other black people from other groups, immigrant groups. Like, we are just inundated with enemies. And so when I saw this story about this megachurch pastor getting this deal or partnering with this bank to facilitate whatever it is that their goal is, it just oozed COINTELPRO. And so I'll explain to you. There was a committee called the Church Committee, and they investigated all these different federal alphabet agencies and discovered they were doing all sorts of things. It was like after Watergate, but they just found there was a lot of underhanded stuff that this government had been doing through secret organizations, and they had secret programs within these organizations. These organizations might not be secret, but they were running programs in them to maintain social order and to disrupt anything that would expose wrongdoings and cause social upheaval. I guess that's the best way to say it. So let me read you something. This came from the Senate Historical Office, and I will include a link to this document in the description. But I want to just show you how this nation is dedicated to keeping Yasharel in disarray. So it says, despite the numerous challenges, the church committee investigated and identified a wide range of intelligence abuses by federal agencies, including and I'm not going to say these agencies, but I will make this bigger so that you can see it. All right. In the course of their work, investigators identified programs that had never before been known to the American public, including this right here that's highlighted in the yellow. I'm not going to say those either because I don't want to get any channel flags or more shadow banning than I already get. Programs which monitored wire communications to and from the United States and shared some of that data with other intelligence agencies. Committee staff researched this particular alphabet agency, their long-running program of, listen to this, covert action designed to disrupt and discredit the activities of groups and individuals deemed a threat to the social order. And that's where I want to talk. That's where I want to stop. A lot of people don't really understand the purpose of these, programs. They'll say the name, but they don't understand what the purpose of the program is. And it's never been stopped. Like, you can just tell it's still going on. Look at what happened with Black Lives Matter. That's a perfect example. When Black Lives Matter came out, it started out as a grassroots movement, and suddenly one day it had a national organization, and the people who were heading the national organization were women. And I was like, wait a minute. Now this chant, this whole movement was started back when Trayvon Martin was killed, and the young man in Florida got killed who was playing his music loud, and then there were different incidents all over the country, but primarily young black men being killed by white people, and nothing was being done about it. And all of a sudden, Black Lives Matter pops up, and it's about trans people, LGBT, and women. Like, wait a minute. So I started, going through and looking for stuff, following the money. And I found a whole maze of stuff. And I wrote about it about 2 years before they actually got busted. And it, barely got read. But the people who did read it was like, this is really thorough. Like, I'm going to really have to pay attention. But people were kind of hesitant to believe what I was saying. And then, like clockwork, like usual, 2-3 years later, folks, it comes out and folks come back and be like, oh yeah. And then, in a couple of places on social media, people, shouted me out for calling it out way in advance. And, that organization was funded by a whole lot of wealthy, dominant society I don't know what kind of groups you call them, like shadow money groups, like dark money groups. So let's just think that's what they call them, dark money groups. So these dark money groups will use backdoor avenues, recruit the people that they want to recruit, get a black face, set it up, and have people all over the world sending these folks money. And then what happens? They discredit the group, they discredit the logo. The founders got busted for misusing money, buying houses and stuff, and nothing really ever happened to them. They just kind of, get blowed up every now and then. But like that's one of those covert things that this program will do. But they've also done it to, during the civil rights era, they did the same thing. And so, here it says that the Alphabet Agency included among the program's many targets organizations such as the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the anti-Vietnam War movement, and individuals such as Martin Luther King Jr., as well as local, state, and federal elected officials. Now, notice they targeted Black religious organizations and a Black minister. They've always targeted our churches. How we got birth control and abortion clinics in our community. Margaret Sanger took Planned Parenthood to Harlem to Black preachers because the dominant society has studied us enough and conditioned us to believe our church leaders. So like they set up this whole system, religious system, so that they could use it. It's just another arm of the government. I guess that's the best way to say it, in general. And I'll include a really good discussion that the End of the World Ministries did yesterday, about how church and state came together and how it never separated. Even when this country was founded, it was never really founded as a separation of church and state. So I'm going to include that in the description as well. But, getting back to the false prophets, I think about Dr. King. He lost his life, but people who were around him went on to live long, prosperous lives. Later, come to find out, they were on the payroll of the feds. Wink, wink, Reverend Al. Wink, wink. Keep hope alive. Jesse, run, Jesse. You think about the people who passed away was really grassroots, working for the people, serious about it, a threat. And then the people who lived, who were surrounded by them, they were the ops, they were the police. But how many people follow these organizations and these movements and still do to this day? Like you still have Black people who will follow Reverend Al. Like he don't have no credibility whatsoever. He an ambulance chaser. But people still follow him. He got his little gig on MSNBC, still got his church, still got his organization. When they want something from the Black community, they'll try to trot him out for my dad and them. But my dad and them doesn't even learn to see, through the shenanigans now. So they don't trust them no more. So they got to get a new crop of Black leaders. So now they have been working on this next generation. So you see these big mega church leaders, especially the Black ones, different ages, they get a lot of social media PR. They're promoting all kinds of agendas for the dominant society, and they are being allowed to do these public-private partnerships, or these religious private-public partnerships, because they're being rewarded for helping to maintain the social order, in particular for our community. They're disrupting or keeping the masses asleep. Masses of women sitting up in congregations asleep with the children. They're asleep. Lots of men watch these ministries, even if they're watching from home, they believe in it. They watch, but they're asleep. And then you see these people, these mega church leaders being rewarded with opportunities like this relationship with this bank because they're allegedly going to do some community investment, but it's really he's getting his bag for keeping the status quo, for disrupting and helping to discredit any activities or groups and individuals deemed a threat to the social order. If you keep Negroes in church and asleep, they can't disrupt the social order. If you keep them from learning who they are, they cannot disrupt or be a threat to the social order. If you give them a few biscuits because their self-esteem is so low, because they don't read, because they don't believe nothing their own people say, because that's how we train them to be, they won't disrupt the social order. They will not be a threat to the social order. And as long as they can keep us quiet and, shadow ban us and make sure our word don't get out, then they are certain they will be able to thwart any plans of their social order being disrupted. So when you see these people out here getting these bags and stuff, and then you see me, and I'm trying to put you on game, be like, hey, it's, don't celebrate that. That ain't celebrate worthy. People will call you a hater, but they don't really understand that this system does not allow disruptors to stand. If they don't take you out, they silence you in other ways, or they discredit you. And you notice that's what they say. They say that these actions are designed to disrupt and discredit. So even if they don't disrupt you by destabilizing your movement, by surrounding you with ops who always discrediting you and causing problems, um, making it impossible for you to take care of yourselves and your family. So you go out here, you put your neck on the line to fight for people, and folks just kind of abandon you, and then your reputation is tarnished, and you can't do anything. So you can't make a living. And then they discredit you. They run your reputation down in the ground. How many people have experienced that on a national level, and you know can recover? Oftentimes they cannot. That's the goal. And then we look at them like, oh, they got a bad reputation, la la la. Don't follow them. But we don't really understand that the reason that they were taken down, once you're wise to how this beast system operates, you understand if that person is taken down, if that person um, is going through some things, you understand that person either crossed somebody, didn't do what they were supposed to do, or they really were a disruptor and they, you know, got taken down, they got sat down, or they got taken out. People that you see, glowing up, while I do think that the Most High can bless people and make them have, large congregations, and they are wealthy because the people take care of them. In this system, I don't think that's possible. I don't think you have mega pastors out here leading people in these churches, not African American churches. I don't think they do that because it's blessed. I think, not all of them. Let me say that. So I don't want nobody to say, you say all of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them that they set before us to worship, and that they put on the pedestal, the dominant society puts on the pedestal. They are there because they are opposition. They are there to maintain the system's social order. And so, if you watch that discussion that the End of the World Ministries did yesterday about church and state, it will really bring it home. So I'm going to post it also in the description. But I just wanted to talk about false prophets. And before I close, I want to read Ezekiel 13. I'm going to start with verse 13, because a lot of our people are going to perish because they are sitting under these false prophets. They are looking at the material stuff and the money and the news coverage and the flash, and I want to be affiliated with this, but they don't really understand what they're being affiliated with in this hour. So while I'm not talking about um any particular people, with the exception of that one instance that I named that hasn't come out yet, but in the end, all things gonna be uncovered, um, according to the Most High's word. All these people who are doing all this stuff, it's gonna come to the light. But a lot of these people are going to fall, going to lose their lives because they're following these false prophets who are put in position to maintain the social order. And that's all it's about at the end of the day. And right now, the social order is a Satanistic social order. And, it's obvious, it's everywhere. We can't allow ourselves to be misled. So anytime you get the opportunity to learn more and teach people about why they should come out of these churches and be set apart, um, please do so. This is a perfect opportunity to do it. And as you see more and more, you test these fruits of these people and start looking around, looking at the history of this country and how they have infiltrated the African American churches and the leaders to um, subvert our will. It should wake people up, but it's not, because I just don't know why. We just a hard-headed, stiff-necked people. All right, so Ezekiel 13:13. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. In my wrath, I will unleash a violent wind, and in my anger, hailstones and torrents of rain will fall with destructive fury. I will tear down the wall you have covered with whitewash and will level it to the ground so that its foundation will be laid bare. When it falls, you will be destroyed in it, and you will know that I am the Lord. So I will pour out my wrath against the wall and against those who covered it with whitewash. I will say to you, the wall is gone, and so are those who whitewashed it. Those prophets of Israel who prophesied to Jerusalem and saw visions of peace for her when there was no peace, declares the Lord sovereign. Declares the sovereign Lord. Now, son of man, set your face against the daughters of your people who prophesy out of their own imagination. Prophesy against them and say, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Woe to the women who sew magic charms on all their wrists and make veils of various lengths for their heads in order to ensnare people. Will you ensnare the lives of my people but preserve your own? You have profaned me among my people for a few handfuls of barley and scraps of bread. By lying to my people who listen to lies, you have killed those who should not have died and have spared those who should not live. And that is where I'm going to end. Pay attention to who you listen to. Pay attention to the lies people are telling. Pay attention to the people who get in the bag. It's getting the bag in the end times. It's a sign. Pay attention to the people who whitewashing Yah's word, because wrath is coming. And a lot of people do not believe it. They want feel good, nice, nice Jesus, a nice Messiah to come who don't do nothing. He love everybody. He don't give everybody Skittles and come with rainbows and stuff, accept everybody. Just forget about the Old Testament. The church is going to have to answer for all the people that are going to be killed because they were misled by false prophets. And so that was on my spirit this morning. I hope I made sense. The last thing I want to talk about is this church committee. I'm going to include this link. I'm not going to go over this, but I'm going to include this link about the church committee. Again, please read this document from the U.S. Senate Historical Office. It'll be in the description as well. But understand that we're being targeted. They don't want us to be disorderly. When I say us, I mean African Americans or anybody that's Yasharel. They don't want us to wake up, because if we wake up and cry out, the Most High is coming. He's going to send his son to rescue us. They need us to stay asleep so that, one, as many people as possible can go to hell. Satan mad, or our adversary is angry, and he wants everybody to get the same punishment as him. So as many people as he can take with him, he's going to do so. We don't want anyone to go. So what we want is people to repent and turn away from their wicked ways, for for them to receive the same grace and mercy that we received. So we got to continue to pray. We got to continue to repent. We got to continue to seek the Most High. You know, praying for revival is nice, but I think the world is too far gone for revival. I think Satan knows his time is up, and he's using every tool that he can and every person that he can to help him with his agenda. And a lot of our people, African American Black people, are helping with this agenda. So it's important for us, those of us who are awakened, to remain set apart, to look at what's going on, tie it back to scripture. Make sure we stay in our word so we can stay fortified. We will know the trees by their fruit. And so that we don't follow the crowd, because there are a lot of people, and I've heard a lot of ministers, bragging about these opportunities. A lot of people caught up in flash and money, this American way of living, this American way of thinking, a Western way of thinking. This place is falling. This civilization is coming to an end real fast. It's going to happen overnight. That's what the word says. In a night, in a day, it's going to be over. A lot of people don't really understand what's coming. And so, I just want to just ask y'all to not get caught up in this world, not get caught up with these false prophets, not get caught up into all this stuff about money and making money, because at the end of the day, money ain't going to be worth nothing. We ain't going to have no money. We're going to be in prison, open air prisons. And our own people are helping to set us up and push us along into these open air prisons. So just be mindful that a lot of these people are COINTELPRO. The program ain't never died, along with some of the other covert programs that they have been operating since that time to maintain the social order. So they got to maintain the social order until they lull people to a point where they can flip the switch, and they are ready to flip the switch. You can tell that by how many ignorant people walking around here. It just is what it is. So stay awake, people. Stay awake. All right, my video is getting ready to end, so I must end. Y'all continue to pray, continue to prep, and seek the Most High for wisdom. I am Marley K, and I'm out.